Number 4, the personal imperative. There's not one person in this room who has not felt the impact of interfaith marriage. How many of you have interfaith marriage either in your immediate or extended family? Raise your hand. And that's reflective of where we are in the American Jewish community. Since there's not one of us who has not felt the impact of intermarriage in this room, the impact of those who are on the periphery of the community who may be disinterested in the mainstream community, it might even reflect those of us at a different time in our lives. But each of us has also been witness to the success of outreach, knowing families and family members who would be part of our community, would not be part of our community, had someone not cared enough to be welcoming, encouraging, and embracing. For outreach is about people who have enriched the rich tapestry of Jewish life because they've been encouraged to join the Jewish community and been supported in their choice to do so. If you love your brother, if you love your sister, if you love your son, if you love your daughter, then outreach is for you. Number 5. For me, this is the most important principles among the imperatives of outreach. The one that informs my work, our work at JOI, each and every day. It's what we call the moral imperative of outreach. It's the moral imperative of working toward the creation of an inclusive Jewish community. An echo of the oft-repeated Torah-based commandment to love the stranger and in our midst. Why? Because we were once strangers in the land of Egypt. Throughout our history, we know what it was like to be considered other or second class. We know what it was like to be ostracized or kept out of institutions, organizations, and neighborhoods. But the moral imperative does not come solely from a negative place in our history. Rather, it comes from a positive place. The place where we are given direction to bring a better world into being. A place which some may even dare to call messianic. Placed right in the center of the Torah, in a section the rabbis call the Holiness Code, because it sets the standard for Jewish behavior and is therefore among the first texts taught to children when they begin their Jewish education, comes lines that have framed the Jewish attitude for centuries. And I quote, "The stranger that lives with you shall be to you like the native, and you shall live like him," and we of course would add, or her, "as yourself. I am the Lord your God." By adding that divine seal at the end, the Torah text communicates the message quite strongly, making clear the origin of this command. There seems to be no question about how we are to act, and this signature text for the Jewish community is meant to be our core value. But the Torah is not satisfied with this statement, even with its divine seal at the end. So the instruction is repeated over 30 times in various places, in various contexts, through the entire Torah, reiterated more often than any other commandment. The idea of welcoming and loving the stranger is so basic to the formation of the Jewish religious psyche that it's emphasized even more frequently than are the laws of Shabbat or the laws of Kashrut. Why does the Jewish tradition direct us to welcome those strangers who are in our midst? Because we understand that the most humane and human way to express the covenantal relationship with God is by reaching out to others and welcoming them in. While some of us may find little contemporary resonance within the context of Egyptian slavery that took place 3,250 years ago after the Exodus and journey through the desert, the reality of the immigration and absorption of foreigners, strangers who have in fact become our neighbors, feels much more relevant. Consider the recent mass absorptions of Jews in Israel and in the United States from the former Soviet Union. Somehow, we found a way to open our homes and our hearts to those who were forced to leave their land and their families where they had dwelt for centuries. It took significant effort, but somehow the Jewish community was motivated to find the requisite strength and the requisite funds to do so. And we found, as we did with every previous wave of immigration to this golden land, or the one promised to our ancestors across the seas in Israel, its members strengthened our communities rather than diminished them. Shouldn't we be willing to do at least the same for those who have come to us so willingly? There are those in our community who would like us to believe that outreach was born in the last 20 years, emerging out of the growing phenomenon of interfaith marriage. And there are those who would like us to believe that outreach has no historical Jewish precedent, nor a place in the tradition of our sacred literature. But the facts of history are clear. The texts of our tradition speak to us clearly and straightforwardly. The ethic of welcoming the stranger is a touchstone for essential Jewish behavior. We've been doing so for a long time. Perhaps there's another familiar text that we should call to the attention of our critics and claim it as our standard. It comes from the Psalms, the text that's repeated on all the holidays as part of the Hallel liturgy. The stone that builders rejected has become our cornerstone. Eved ma'asu lavonim haita lerosh pina. The stone that the builders rejected has become our cornerstone. Let us strive to rebuild our community, even as there are so many of those who want to dismantle it. And let our efforts in outreach as the cornerstone for the community that we intend to build. Thank you.